So,
Yes.
welcome to the last session of this day, the multicast BOF. The title is IP Multicast Revisited, Setups, Use Cases, and Interdomain. And it's my pleasure to host this session together with Flavio from Namex, Freddy from Init7, and Viljana from The2. So, this is a birds of feather meeting in case it's your first. BOFs are usually about fostering discussion. So this one is specifically about fostering discussion on interdomain in brackets multicast. So most of the time on this slot, we won't have a fixed agenda. You hear that I'm saying most, that also means that part of the time we do have a fixed agenda, which is rather unusual for BOF meetings. But I will explain in a few minutes why. So we want to make your voice heard on this topic, but we limit mic time to 5 minutes. Just for you as orientation. And, it's an open discussion, so please behave like a human being and also be aware that this session is recorded. And in general, I want you to feel free to talk about your multicast setups, your use cases, your experiences or challenges, and especially if you have experiences with interdomain setups, we would be interested in hearing those as well. So why are we actually here? So multicast is a very old technology, and I have a little anecdote from last week's DENOG meeting. I was talking to some guy from a small ISP in Germany, and he told me, I love my job, but I'm fed up with building my network for the soccer championships. And I think that pretty much hits the point because, live events like soccer and flash crowds are really dominating and can be challenging for capacity management. And we see an increasing deployment of multicast within ISPs for live streaming use cases, exactly like the soccer championships. There are several also large incumbent providers that are deploying this. And we're here because I want to know whether we as operators can manage multicast better, for instance, interdomain. And as someone working for a large IXP, I'm in particular interested in should or could IXP support interdomain multicast on the internet. And that brings me to the agenda. So now we have the introduction, and multicast is a multifaceted topic. So it very much depends on what network you run. And that's why we decided that we will have upfront three 5-minute presentations from different perspectives on this topic. So the first one is the ISP perspective by Freddy. The second one is the IXP perspective by Flavio, and the third one is the content provider perspective by Viljana. And after that, we're going to start with a discussion session for around 40 minutes until 7. So I know I'm standing between you and the social, but no worries. The buses will leave much later, 2015, so you won't miss anything this evening. And as the first speaker that is now going to present the ISP perspective is, as I said, Freddy. And Freddy is the CEO and network architect of Init7. At least that's what LinkedIn says. Freddy, is that correct? Init7 is an ISP in Switzerland, and he's very well known for his stance on high-quality internet and for battling large incumbent providers into submission on last-mile issues. So if you want to know more about that, just Google his name. I assure you it's entertaining. And with that, I would like to pass over to Freddy. The floor is yours.
Buonasera. As you know, Switzerland has 3 languages, actually 4 languages. I tried to learn the third one, Italian, so buonasera. I'm quickly going through this multicast slide, so what we're doing. First few words about Init7. We are one of the remaining independent ISPs, and we operate an FTTH infrastructure, and this gives us the ability to use multicast. So we run our own equipment. There are about 215 FTTH POPs currently and about 100 under construction, and we use a unique vendor in the access. It's Cisco 9532 and 9548 switch with 100 gig backhaul. So we use them also to distribute multicast. This is a pop map. You can soon see that. It's a preliminary screen. And the product is Fiber 7, which is 10 and 25 gigabit Ethernet, free choice of router. So a nerd-compatible product. It offers also multicast TV. We also have a Easy 7, which is plug and play for anyone with no clue. And we got also some medals. Yeah, you can look those boring slides later. Marketing slides. There's always one marketing slide. So we do some multicast, and that's why I'm here. And I proposed this discussion or this BOF about a year or two ago. I don't remember exactly. And lucky us, the DKIX people, took over the organization. A quick word about our multicast ingest network. This is completely separate from the main network. Why is this the case? Because multicast is a bit difficult to handle, so I'd rather have these on separate boxes. And if we do something wrong with the main network, not everybody is affected, because basically multicast, as you know, is very is basically the first thing in the chain, in the supply chain. So we have the two switches we usually use for the FTTH. We took them away from the delivery and used them as multicast ingest network. They're just two in two different locations with redundant passes, and all the multicast feeds are delivered there. And so you can see there is a redundant SRG. These are the 7 channels of the Swiss television. 7, of course, two German, 2 French, and 2 Italian-speaking channels. And then we use the Cisco DCMs, the 9902, basically for nothing else than address translation. So these are basically the multicast NAT boxes. I think there's some other purpose also, but mainly it's address translation. And what the customer gets is they can actually download our multicast playlist and use whatever device they want to use it to play these streams. We also have Apple TV and Google Android TV app, which is compatible to use this multicast, to play these multicast streams, the live TV. Quick word on the technology we use on Apple TV. It's basically the VLC engine we use there. And there was actually a topic about a couple of years back that some channels, some private German channels, they require encrypted transmission of live TV, which is silly in my opinion, but anyway. So we did a bit of research work in terms of how to encrypt multicast. So that's DRM. That's mainly it was actually a bachelor thesis of the ZHW, Zürcher Hochschule für angewandte Wissenschaften. That's a university in Winterthur, and one of our former employees was studying there and working part-time in our TV team. And he actually addressed this with 2 colleagues. So there's the concept is available on GitHub. So if you ever think of doing some open source DRM stuff or whatever, then that might be a hook to start. That's about it. This is me, and I hope we can have a lively discussion and bring multicast, which is claimed to be dead, alive again. Thank you.
So our next speaker is Flavio Luciani. Flavio is the CTO of Namex, the Roma Internet Exchange Point. Namex connects more than 230 members at multiple cities in Italy and the Balkans. At the same time, he's the local host of this RIPE meeting, which deserves a round of applause on its own, I guess. So we prepared this presentation sort of together, and this also reflects the views of DKIX. So, Flavio.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I would like to say also thanks to my colleagues that they are here about, I I worked for this right meeting, but probably they did as much as work as possible and not myself. So thank you very much, Matthias, for this introduction. Yeah, my name is Flavio Luciani and I work for Namex, the local exchange. This is a really brief presentation about the IXP's perspective on multicast, and in general, I would like to underline and I would like to, I would like to underline what IXPs in general can do in terms of support and facilitate network operators about the adoption of multicast. Just a very brief introduction of this presentation, and I would like to also give you some insight about what we usually see at internet exchange points, because typically we see at internet peaks of traffic, and they are related to especially events such as software updates and game releases, and very, very recently also live streaming applications. And I would like to give you my personal opinion about live streaming application, because I think that we have to see live streaming closer in this period. Just to give you an idea, in Italy in 2021, there was a revolution, because DAZN, the broadcaster, won the broadcasting rights for the transmission of the Italian major football championship, so the Serie A, with 7 matches, football matches in exclusive out of 10. And it was a revolution, because we moved from a satellite distribution to live streaming on internet. And not only, because also we have Amazon Prime Video. Amazon Prime Video broadcast the UEFA Champions League with several matches in exclusive on Wednesday. And, you know, these events have a huge impact in terms of load on the network. And my question is, just to feed the discussion later, can be, for example, live streaming one of the driver to, let me say, to support the adoption of multicast for network operators. Just open mic and we can discuss later. We did something many years ago. Probably at that time I was at the elementary school, but some of my colleagues here can remember, because more than 15 years ago in Namex, we Marco Ditri probably reminded that time, but we provided a multicast VLAN under the request of some of our members, and it was experimentation. We suspended after, I don't know, a couple of years, 3 years, the experimentation, because probably it wasn't the right time, and because there wasn't a need and benefit to do so. But now times probably have changed, because as I mentioned before, we have probably several use cases that can support the adoption of multicast among network operators. But have times really changed? I don't know, because if you look for the word multicast on PeerInDB, you will get just one result, the LONA multicast peering VLAN with 0 peers. So no interest, no volume, because we are not used to use PeerInDB for multicast. I don't know. Also, we can, just to feed the discussion later, this is something for the discussion. Let me just say that, I don't know, probably exchanges are not so we are not the main actor in this game, but we exchanges, at least Namex and DEGIX, at least Flavio and Matthias and the other guys from DEGIX and Namex, we would support new attempts at multicast VLAN. But before doing that, we would like to hear from you. We would like to hear that there are demands among network operators, all, I mean, both access providers and content providers. And, you know, probably this is the right place where we can discuss it, and we would like to hear from you if we can do something. Probably we are now at the early stage of multicast, at early stage of live streaming and other applications, but we can start now to be prepared and ready so in the future. And thank you very much. This is all by me.
So the last speaker in this little row on perspectives on multicast is Viljana Ivanova. Viljana is the engineering director of Z2. Z2 provides IPTV services for television channels and video on demand content in the German, Austrian, and Switzerland region. Initially, Z2 was founded to stream the 2006 FIFA World Cup. I tried to look up what the current number of users is. I've only found very old numbers. So in 2016, they already had 2 million users for live streaming. But maybe Viljana will update us on that number in her talk. I don't know. But I would think that today it's probably a lot more. Viljana is joining us remotely today, and I'm very grateful for that. And well, Viljana, the floor is yours.
Hi, I hope you can hear me good. Okay. Good. So as already presented, the tool has actually two products. One is OTT in the DACH region, so Germany, Switzerland, and Austria, where we do have our own live TV product that users can download on any smart device that we have nowadays and watch live TV with the features of restart, recordings, catch up, and so on. And we also have an IPTV product that's white labeled for operators, telecoms, like for example, in Germany, 1&1 is our customer, so we built the whole IPTV solution for them, or Air in Ireland, or Salt in Switzerland, and that's unlimited in the world. So whenever we have a customer. What is our network currently looking at? We do everything in-house, so we have our own headends where we have more than 30 satellite dishes with the reception of many channels that are still not delivered directly from the playouts. We have at the moment more than 1,300 channels with multiple sources, which means minimum 2 per channel. So that's around 3,000 signals flying around in our network. User-wise, so on the OTT product, so that the one in Germany, Switzerland, and Austria, we have around 6 million active users, but the peak that we see is between 500,000 and 600,000 users in the evening. So it's still quite a lot, and we operate our own CDN for that delivery. So how does our multicast work? We do multicast only for our acquisition and the backend. So as I said already, we have our headends where we have DVB-S or DVB-T ingest. Then we have also multiple direct IP multicast ingest, luckily from the playouts directly. And we have also internet ingest like HOS or SRT for whoever is knows the setup. I can't switch. Yeah, now I could, sorry. And we collect all those ingests, all those channel sources, and then we encode them into IP multicast to transport them to the different video backends. We have 2 video backends, and we have 5 main acquisition POPs at the moment. So every signal goes to both backends for delivery, and this is fully multicast delivery until the video backends. But we use only level 2 multicast delivery that is isolated from the rest of the network in VLANs, and it's dedicated only for that. And then our product runs fully on unicast because of multiple reasons. So when we started, we had only the OTT product, and it was focused on mobile devices. So obviously the solution then was supposed to be unicast. But with the time also and the introduction of the different services like non-live traffic on top, that's catch up for recordings or pause or restart, and even VOD nowadays. So VOD is not our main business, but we do have some, as everyone. We needed to keep the unicast, and we can already see that this traffic is growing more and more. So we built everything on HTTP-based adaptive video delivery. We built direct network peerings, and we can also stream over the open internet for most of the users if we don't reach them via network peering. And the unicast gives us better functionality in this ways. As I said, also the non-Wi-Fi traffic is much more. 35% of our traffic at the moment is really non-Wi-Fi, and I don't mean VOD. I mean really like people who skip the ads or pause or restart or just want to watch the Sunday show on Monday because they couldn't catch it then. When we started also mobile devices, and now it's still the case, we're not supporting multicast, so that's a big chunk of our users. Like a lot of people commuting are using the product, the OTT product. And on big screen, when we built the solution also for our telecom providers on our B2B business, then we limit them only to the setup box that the provider gives you. While we see much better performance now on an Apple TV, we built an Apple TV as an operator app. We were the first one actually in Europe to do it, and that would only work on unicast solution. And then we can also have like the smart TV applications, Fire TV, Chromecast, and whatever else comes on the market. So that's why we do keep everything in unicast. And that's how our solution works. And thank you for having me here in this presentation. I'm curious to hear what everyone else has.
So thank you for all the speakers for providing their perspective. The run-up to this BOF was very short, so it was just 1 week. So Vilania went the extra mile to present this here remotely. Thank you for that. And I think we can now open the discussion phase. As we have had the presentations before that, I could prepare a few discussion items that might be of interest. You can see them here. And besides that, we do have a survey that you might take. It lasts about 8 minutes. And it's just to catch your opinion on the whole topic. So I would be very grateful if you could fill that in, because it allows us to gauge the interest of the community into this topic. So, please.
Marco Ditri, CWeb and also Minap. I'll start with an historical perspective on the Namex multicast LAN experiment. It failed basically because there were no access networks. At the time, the access market in Italy was much more consolidated. There were most of the users were shared among a very small number of very large operators, and they were very clear in saying that they wanted to be paid for the privilege of sending multicast traffic to their own customers. So this went nowhere. We connected because at the time I was interested in multicast. I also had multicast transit, but we are an hosting and cloud infrastructure provider, so in some way a content provider. We did not actually have any real content. Anyway, there were just no eyeballs, so there was no point in continuing the experiment. From the IXP point of view, I will just say that as far as I know, supporting multicast at an IXP requires PIM snooping and whatever is needed for IPv6. So it requires advanced switches that maybe not all exchanges use. Thank you.
Thank you for your opinion.
Hi, Gerd Döring. I have almost as many gray hair as Marco. And I have been part of the multicast LAN at DKIX. So you had one.
Well, probably I wasn't around at the time.
You might have been born. It was like about 20 years ago.
You're not that old, Gerd.
I am. I'm 52.
But experienced.
That was really when we thought multicast was the solution to everything, and we had been providing audio streaming for one of the Bavarian radio stations. We still do, and they basically provide for about 2/3 of our outgoing bandwidth. So it would be really nice to just send one stream every direction. It would reduce our bill with 3320 significantly. the thing is that what we learned at that time and why we decided at some point to completely turn off multicast routing in our network was the total lack of debuggability. The moment the usage was very, very low. So about once a month, somebody came and said, I tried to listen to your multicast stuff and my local ISP says it should work, but I cannot hear anything. Then you do unicast traceroute and find out that there's 3 different ASs in between and they all claim to do multicast. And one of them has again turned up a link and forgot to turn on PIN. So you have a black hole somewhere in between, which you cannot debug without actually really knowable engineers in the middle AS. There's no real tool that tells you anything beyond, yes, black hole there. No, yes, black hole on the way, but not where. So with the very small take up we had back then, the cost benefit relationship absolutely made no sense. So this is why we discontinued our multicast engagement. I still think it makes very much sense for this sort of real-time streaming at a soccer game or whatever, or an audio session. But there's a technical gap to be filled to be able to actually trace and debug all this.
Okay, that's a very valuable comment because that's also something that I have on this discussion item slide here. Is multicast feature complete for the use cases that you have? And I guess your answer at this point is no, it isn't, right?
The debuggability was, I haven't followed the development in the last 10 years, but back then it wasn't.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name is Marco Marletta. I work for an Italian network. I am here to bring my experience to the people here. I have worked on multicast since the year 2000. So it's 23 years now that I started. So is there anyone before? Or I'm the older one here? No? No? More than 2000? Earlier than 2000? Wow, fantastic. As a multicast, okay. Wow, fantastic. So I started working in 2000 and my first job was let's bring multicast into the network. And in 2001, I had a working multicast environment in my network, which was actually a special kind of multicast network, which was it was internet multicast. It was not just send data from a source and receive data on the same network, but send data to everywhere in the world or receive data from anywhere in the world. Of course, this was a specific part of the internet. It was only the research network. So it was what at the time it was called the M-boon. So basically we started deploying all the stuff, SSM, ASM, everything, many protocols, lots of troubles because the implementation of the control plane was not working as it was meant for. And of course, this was working somehow for many years with little or no use at all. So basically we had a working implementation. We started also developing tools to monitor this kind of implementation, but no one was using it. Then suddenly in 2018, there was a research institution which is called UMETSAT, sorry, which launched a project called UMETCast. It was 2018 or roughly, yes, roughly, yes. So they launched this project and they started sending scientific data coming from satellite over research networks using multicast. And it was like waking up from being asleep. Okay, so we started seeing streams, we started seeing active states, active multicast states on routers, which was fantastic. Wow. But of course, it was also a responsibility. So now we need to make it work. If we change something in the network, it still needs to work. Okay, and this is the new challenge for the future. So what I would like to emphasize on my experience is that I've seen some implementation talking about how they send and receive data on the same network. But I have never seen an internet-wide multicast implementation, which is what I would like to see for the future. There has been some proposal, which I've seen, which was multicast tunneling, I think it was a draft called automatic multicast tunneling, yes, which was had also a nice surname, which was multicast to the grandma. So how to bring the multicast up to grandma house. And this is, I think, the real challenge for the future, how to make multicast work across network boundaries, not just inside the network boundary. That's it.
Thank you so much for that. So I like this very specific use case. I was also wondering whether anyone out there is using multicast for something else than live streaming. That's a very nice use case, even though it's a very specific one, right? Thank you for sharing your opinion.
Yeah, Maria, developer of BERT, I'd like to say that we haven't implemented almost anything from multicast. And I must admit that those RFCs are quite hard to read and hard to comprehend. So it's not so easy to take something from the multicast world and implement it. Let's aside that there are several versions of the PIM protocols. So my basic question is whether it's even needed inside BERT, mostly from the point of view of IXPs who are using BERT quite heavily. And second, if there is a need, which protocol, for example, whether it's which kind of PIM it should be or which other protocol should we implement, because looking into the RFCs and implementing all of them would take us like 3 years, and I'm very underestimating this. So if anybody from the IXP world can do the assessment, or I can help with that and do this discussion, please reach out to us. We will try to do our best. Thank you.
So maybe I can comment to that as an IXP person, even though I'm chairing this BOF. So actually, if I think about an architecture, I don't think a BERT would be too much involved in that, because as stated beforehand, probably it would be something like PIM snooping on the IXP platform. But of course, probably we have to talk about, if we talk about global multicast on an internet-wide scale, whether we need BERT to redistribute multicast space, right? But that would be on a BGP level from my perspective. And that would probably also require changes in address policy and the like.
Hello there. I'm Tom Hill. I work for British Telecom. So we talk a lot about multicast, but a lot of this is also personal opinion, so I should point that out. There are obviously a number of different TV mechanisms for distributing live content at the moment, and certainly we've seen some examples of multicast in use, and that's great. We do have this looming problem of those other mediums not working anymore. Either the satellites are going to fall out of the sky at some point and not be replaced, or the DVB frequencies will be stolen for 5G, 6G, whatever. So someone's got their eyes on all this bandwidth, right? And all of this stuff and the money involved. So whilst I believe absolutely that there is a really valuable position here for a working group to help collate multicast requirements across ISPs and across countries, massively important, that would be brilliant. We do need to think a little bit further outside of network protocols. There are so many external factors to this problem, and I would hasten to point out, and I think that's why it's never taken off in the tens of years that folk have been working on it. So I think the first and foremost thing that we have to concentrate on is the end user and how they're going to consume these services. Certainly in the United Kingdom, we have something along the lines of, obviously we implement DVB-T standards, but we have this association called Freeview, and they produce standards for television boxes that are compatible with either what we call FreeSat, which is DVB-S or DVB-S2, Freeview, DVB-T, DVB-T2. And when you buy a box in the UK to put under your television, a set-top box, it will probably come with one of those things written on it. Where's the standard for multicast? Right? But that's the kind of thing that we need to be thinking about in terms of how we get these things into homes. It's just an example, probably not the best example, but yes, this could be a brilliant thing for the industry to start working on, particularly as we see those other mechanisms, those mediums failing or going away. But we do need to think a bit further outside of network architecture, quite significantly.
Forgive my ignorance, but does British Telecom also provide mobile services? Because I would really be interested in a perspective on that, because that's also the end user problem that you're talking about, right? So
we do. We own Everything Everywhere, EE, which is a mobile.
That's a tough claim, but
we own Everything Everywhere. Yes, I know, that's a brilliant one. It's like having an extreme meeting, extreme networks. Yes, we own EE, and it's quite integrated into BT now. So we have a single converged core with a single internet platform, and then we have radio, mobile core, and broadband network, and this is a result of tons of years of extra hard work and all sorts of things. Getting multicast ingested just into the network from third parties, it's the collaboration piece, I think, is the hardest thing to get around, right? To some degree, it's chicken and egg. Do you build it and they will come, or do you force them into doing it in some other fashion? It's quite difficult to get there. There is a lot of industry collaboration required across all parties, and of course, you've had 3 different perspectives, and that's great. This is why I say that a working group in this particular forum would be fantastic, but there are other things that we have to consider outside of our usual realm that I think are very, very valid.
I have a question with a tiny bit of self-interest. So would you join an IXP multicast peering LAN as a big incumbent provider?
I couldn't say that for sure at the moment.
But you would consider it?
Put it this way, right? Why did we build IXPs in the first place? To reduce the burden of having to send traffic all over the place, over to the US and back, or to a different country. If IXPs can reduce the burden for everyone, then I assume it would be a natural benefit to a multicast internet.
Okay. So does Vilania want to say something?
It's, Rudolph.
Yeah, Flavio, there's a question in the online queue. So sorry, we had a bit of trouble setting up the online queue. We will come back to you once we have this settled. So yeah, thank you very much for your opinion. Okay, I think next one, please.
Hey, Silvan here from Open Factory, or owned by BT, as I just learned. So with regards to the use cases, I have spent several years in a TV head end learning about all the weird effects of spanning tree on multicast networks, especially. What I see as a use case, because most of the TV content, apart from the old times of, I mean, back in the day we had Northern Ghost, who still remembers that used multicast on my network. It's often that you get the commercially transported TV channels, so I'm not sure that the content provider who operate the head ends are too much willing to give their traffic out for free on an IXP where they can barely control who actually subscribes to the traffic, because I think that's fairly difficult to control. What would be an interesting use case would probably all like the public TV stations, which would be fairly interested getting their channels easier over to subscribers. A personal challenge I'm following up for many, many years is how do we get people to adopt glob space? Because I think a lot of people forgot about that. If you have a 16-bit ASN, you have your own /24 subnet for multicast. And I think that would be something that should be also part of getting proper route objects and other things. There's no way to get a route object for my glob space in RIPE database, even though my ASN is in RIPE database. So that's also something we should change. And yes, I would join and I would at least consume channels, even though I'm not able to bring in channels.
Is there someone from RIPE in the room to which we can relay the address space question? Because in preparation of this both, I was quickly grabbing through the RIPE policy and I could find multicast on a single line and this whole policy and essentially says, we don't handle multicast. So is there any mechanism in RIPE to handle multicast addresses? I don't think so, actually.
As far as I understand, no. There's this glob space, which means 233.uras number /24, but that's outside RIPE because that's just IETF. And if you have a 32-bit AS number, you're lost. But RIPE has nothing.
256 addresses. Yes. For each operator, which I don't see.
So before going with the next person in the microphone queue, I would put in someone from the online queue. So if that's fine for you. So I don't know who it was. Miljan, yeah? Okay. So multicast definitely helps reduce peaks during football championships, for example, but we easily compensate that with cache servers that are positioned based on the telecom network and needs. And for non-live content, you still need to have the caches anyway. And this way, you do not need to support two protocols. The overall advantage to save traffic in a fiber optic world is less than the complexity of the network one needs to support. Also, multicast ABR is not that flawless to do. And then when the user home setup is bad, then it just does not work.
So that's not what I wanted to comment, actually. It was on the last thing about the multicast delivery of the channels from the playout to the distributor, like we do, for example. That definitely multicast is the best option. And we also do it. We aggregate all the 2000 channels that we have, for example, and we can deliver it to someone in multicast. And I can see that happening in the IXP where they are the aggregator of those channels. And I just tell them, hey, I have the content rights for Discovery, just enable that multicast for me. As for the IP addresses that are not regulated by RIPE, for us, that's kind of a big problem because on every ingest that we do from the playouts directly, we do need to make sure that we rewrite them with our own space so that that's not duplicated and we don't have issues.
Okay. Thomas Schmid, also working for National Research Network in Germany. Yeah, we do multicast also for a long time now, and I just wanted to follow up to what Marco was saying, that when we set up this Umidcast infrastructure, monitoring was a key component of it. And in the interdomain case, of course, monitoring requires multiple parties. And as was already mentioned, we easily end up in having multiple topologies that You lose the fate sharing of IP forwarding when it comes to multicast, which makes things really difficult. And this might require, of course, a higher or another level of working together between different ISPs in order to deliver an end-to-end service for multicast services. And yeah, that's one thing. And then AMT multicast tunneling, yeah, it reminds somehow of IPv6 tunneling back in the days. I don't know if this is a good way to go when you think of Torito 64 tunnels and so on and so forth. But I'm curious, AMT, I haven't heard much of it lately. I don't know what the status is. And so I also have the question to the audience here. What is the status of AMT? I'm not sure. Maybe somebody can answer or comment on that one.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that either, but would be interested as well.
Hello, this is Luciano Venuto, I work for TIM. We have an experience, as stated before, delivering multicast of the Premier League Serie A in Italy for football. We deliver each match, all the, I don't know, 6 or 7 football matches are delivered via multicast. The main thing I want to say about our experience is that multicast is useful for the operator because it helps, it's elementary, but helps your network to not explode because we perform multicast ABR, we have each match transmitted in several coding, which is one audio channel. The main issues I can see that is that it is useful, but the main thing we have to say about multicast is you have to have multicast to the end customers on the access network. Is it PON or VDSL or GPON or anything else? So the most useful thing, the best effort is to sensibilize, to have access network equipment available for multicast. It is not in the 100% of the access networks. For example, in the radio networks, in the cellular network, 5G, 4G, 5G, there's to be an effort to implement multicast also in mobile network, I think. And the other thing is to have more compatibility and interoperability with the terminals and set-top boxes. Or you have to let to be the final terminal unicast, for example, and have the conversion, something in your network, in your home network, in some part on the network that makes a conversion from multicast to unicast if your terminal does not support unicast, the multicast, excuse me. And for the access network, to have the full compatibility for the last version of protocols. For example, we have several boxes which do not implement IGMP version 3, so they are not available for PIM SSM. These are not so theoretical problems, but they are practical. If you can use PIM SSM, you can have more relaxed in the management of multicast address and so on. But what I can say that the development of multicast in also not so linked to an application, for example, not multicast for football, but also for dynamic events, for example, the presentation of the new releases of the console and so on, the network could be able to switch from multicast, from unicast to multicast dynamically. So if I am at home, I'm seeing an event on television, perhaps you have to be the intelligence at home to switch from unicast to multicast independently from the terminal. So you can make the network more free from bandwidth occupation. But I think we are still at the beginning of this adventure. We had some problems to implement it in the customer user. We have a strict interaction between unicast and multicast. So if a customer has the set-top box able to see multicast, he will have his content in multicast, but it is transparent to him. You just select what you want to see, and the network decides for you, because multicast is more useful for operator best than the customer or the content provider, I think. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So before moving on to the next speaker, you still have time to fill in the survey within the session. So maybe I'd like to encourage you to do so if you haven't done so yet. So next, please.
Okay, hi, this is Marian from NixCZ. I just small comment here. We still run multicast on roughly 30 ports in our infrastructure, but I haven't seen any request past 2-3 years. So the infrastructure is there. We still run it historically, but there is no interest from the operators.
Is it no interest from the operators or no interest from the content providers?
Both. Because we're connecting them together.
Yeah.
They are distributing these live streams through the infrastructure. So, well, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Chris DKix. So I can hardly wrap my head around it because actually we have discussions which go on for like years, whether we need it or not. And some suggest, hey, I would love to see that implemented on the one hand side. On the other hand side, like the really large, I mean, we had really cool statements from Tim and BT say, yeah, well, the devil is in the detail and let's look. But I believe what would be really the next step to crack this, that we really have someone standing up and saying, hey, really, I want to explore this because I believe the IXPs, and Flavio made this also pretty clear, for us it's rather easy to kick this off and to get started. And as we just heard before, some IXPs even operated still, and there's still no demand. So I believe without having really like either eyeball side now or after the meeting, going to Matthias or to someone else from DKX, Namex, or some of the IXPs, like really cheering for this, championing this idea and saying, okay, let's start it over again. I need it as a content provider, or I need it as an ISP. And we're happy to start with a pair, right? So with one content provider who's really interested and one ISP is really interested. Well, that is sort of at least the crucial mass that we actually need. And yeah, I'm somewhat failed to really see it here in this room. That's the summary, right? A lot of technical reasons, but no one also went down in direction of what are the commercials, right? So as an ISP, how can I save money? Okay, I understand traffic, yeah, but is there more to it? Or as an ISP, is there another monetization strategy actually that I could pull out?
Yeah, there is a Flavio Luciani from Namex. There is a question from Mitko, from Zuaia, Zubair, Sediki, probably for Luciano, for Tim. And the question is, I was wondering how was the user experience, the latency, video resolution during peak hours, watching live streaming events using multicast services. Any idea on that? Yeah, see.
Our customer experience is pretty good because the multicast, as you can see, is not growing the bit rate on the network. So during peak level, you have something related to unicast, which can be can have problems. But as regards multicast, we have also an increasing of quality level. So the prioritization on the network for multicast packets is also an help for us. But the other thing is that at now, multicast is not the only solution to provide a good user experience, because we try to prevent congestion by dimensioning our network links in the way that you can see you can have the match also if you a large number of customer are in unicast. So network is very good, how to say, very robust for this. But multicast, in my experience, is a very simple protocol. I think that multicast is like whether you open, you close. There's not as very low problems that are, I think, more related with unicast part, because our multicast is not really independent from unicast. In the stream you have from the match. Sometimes I'm not expert in this. You need to receive some packets from your provider in unicast. And perhaps the problem could be in this interaction from unicast and multicast. But if a stream is just like multicast, we should have no problem, because multicast is one stream for 1 or 2 or 3 streams for each box, independently from the number of customers. And this is the very strength of multicast. So the user experience is good, and we think that it will be better if the number of customers which use multicast will increase. This is, I think, very simple to understand.
Okay, thank you. There. Yeah. Can we get? Okay,
should I continue until?
Yeah,
okay.
maybe you continue until we get that sorted out. Thank you.
Freddy from Unit 7 again. I think the question was raised before, is there really a need? So I think to conclude all this, we need basically 3 things. We need an IXP, which provides a multicast VLAN, maybe without extra costs to facilitate it. That's probably the easiest part. And then the most difficult part, and I think we really need to address this, is the addressing. What was it? Global 233 something? Yeah. I mean, 256 addresses per ISP is not enough. Liliana said before she has some 1,300 channels in her network. And the biggest issue, she said, was renumbering. And I also mentioned this, renumbering really sucks. So we need something, a system which gives, I don't know, a /20, a /19 to those participating ISPs in a multicast VLAN to pick up channels, to offer channels. And otherwise, this is not going to work. So the layer 2 part is one thing, but I think we need to have a proper addressing scheme. Otherwise, it's not going to work, because everybody addresses whatever he thinks is good. And yes, I think it's also an option for long tail channels, for regional channels, which could be for create some interest in other regions, channels which are not on satellite. And if they could be picked up by ISPs in an exchange, that would be a widening of the offering of the TV selection.
Thank you. I'm Freddie. I think you're in for writing a policy proposal for the address policy working group.
Totally agree.
You got volunteered. Okay, we have someone in the online queue. Okay, then we go ahead. Okay. Okay, then please go ahead.
Thank you, Flavio. Stefan, Open 7. I've done some work last 3 years ago, last time with video encoding, and we have also done tests, and the Institute has done some tests there. And I have MBone, some people maybe know this, and RIPE has this stuff also discussed 20 years ago. At the end, why is multicast dead? It's dead because nobody uses it at the end boxes. That's the simple solution. And I like your first question, multicast use cases. What's your case? So where's the case? NTP I've seen. Nice idea. Maybe that could be something, a killer application, but I don't think so. So we are living in a time where we stop having linear television. We have non-linear television. In Germany, the price structure for, I think, more than 98% of all households are connected to a cable network. So actually DVB makes no sense anymore. I think one of the local operators in Munich already switched it off because nobody's looking DVB. And then they had done some really huge mistakes, but not going into detail, but of course that's wireless stuff. In the end, non-linear television has
cannot work together with multicast. And the problem with multicast always is that if you have ever tried 20 years ago multicast with a box, you press a button and then there's a picture. With the next channel, and then you have a picture. And people want to have switch. They want to go flip through the channels. And you can only accomplish it, and it was, I think, somebody already mentioned it, by combining unicast and multicast. But this is a complicated technology. You need special boxes for this. You can support this and all these things. So if you want to have it really cheap, you do unicast. As simple as that. And most of the people, and I would say it's not prophetic to say that 90% of the people will go non-linear in the next years. So please show me a multicast application, a multicast service, which really would give a reason for IXPs to put effort, engineering power, money into doing things, and not mentioning all the problems with the address space and the renumbering Freddie has mentioned actually. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're running out of time, so I would like to close the mic after the next two speakers, right?
Yeah, just a short, naive question. Do we need, with the addressing schema, to keep IPv4 itself? Don't we have IPv6 with that FF/8? I forgot to state my name and affiliation. I'm Maria, an internet IPv6 terrorist.
Hello, Marcus, I'm speaking for myself. Multicast is heavily used by financial networks. I think there's a lot I could learn from them. I work in this industry like for the past 7 years. Yeah, basically doing multicast every day. Yeah, on the technical side, I believe there's a lot of things a lot of ideas we could borrow from these networks and try to implement on the.
So financial data is a use case that we hadn't had so far. So
yeah, especially like financial exchanges, high frequency trading companies.
Yeah.
They do a lot of multicast.
Okay, thank you. So last comment.
Very quick. At least for the Italian market, we are wasting our time if we expect to use multicast for TV, because broadcasters don't want to. They want to be able to measure each single viewer, or else they won't be able to sell advertisements. So we need to solve that if we want to use multicast for TV.
Okay. Yeah.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear me? Yeah, if you can hear me. Oh yeah, I hear the echo through the room. Sorry for that. No, I wanted, so there were a lot of interesting comments made today. So I've been starting to work on multicast as an operator in AT research until '99, when I moved over to vendors and worked with a lot of different multicast deployments over the time. And so I can, reflect on many of the things that were said here. And it would certainly be a lot of fun to have a mailing list, at least to refresh this discussion and help people understanding are that we have. And obviously the full end-to-end multicast over the internet is still the biggest question mark use case, right? But I think the one thing to remember is that multicast is successfully used for at least part of the distribution chain of a lot of content. I mean, in many service providers still uses multicast up to the end caches, and whether or not that is meant to be in scope or not is for you to decide. But I wouldn't say that multicast is dead. It just never, was visible as an end-to-end service over the internet. And the result, sure, how many of you are operating those, and in other applications in enterprises, of course.
Thank you. So I think that was the last comment. Is there one left? Ah, okay.
Yeah, hi. Rudolf from the Netherlands. I've been discussing multicast since 2001. Can you guys hear me? Yes, good. So even then, it was hard to find a business case, in part because the promise is it saves traffic, but really, how much capacity do you need? In India, they just did the Cricket World Cup for 59 million people over the mobile network, doing unicast, and it worked. If you want to do a unicast football, yes, it's a couple of terabit, but if you put the caches deep enough in the network, and latest caches do 500 gig to a terabit per cache, you can easily handle 1 million customers per terabit cache. And who here really has problems handling 40 terabit of traffic in an ISP telco network? You shouldn't, because the boxes are bigger than that. And this has been the case for the last 25 years. There are Internet Protocol Journal articles from 2001 and 99 about why multicast isn't successful. And it's because too many engineers have been building too much capacity too fast. And it causes too much trouble. So yes, there are special use cases, but across the internet, it's too hard and doesn't save enough money.
Okay. So this was the last comment, I guess. So thank you for participating in this BOF meeting. We have heard a very wide range of opinions on this topic, and it was very interesting. I think we'll find a way to share the results of the survey some way or the other. And yeah, have fun at the social. Thank you for participating.